China is currently experiencing a boom in the electric vehicle industry. The electric vehicle industry in 2021 was worth $124 billion. There are companies like NIO, SAIC, which are now challenging Tesla. Tesla is one of the primary US EV company, but the Chinese companies are now going out and challenging Tesla, and they want to become the new game changer. In 2022, almost 6 million electric vehicles were sold in China. That is a big number when you compare it to the US and Europe, where in US only 1.2 million vehicles were sold, and in Europe only 3.2 million vehicles were sold. And China has been ahead in the game of setting up the bases and the charging spots which are required for the electric vehicles. And Chinese companies are now challenging Tesla, and they want to dominate the domestic market and eventually eat out Tesla's lunch by becoming big enough to replace the whole Tesla fleet. And the Chinese State Council has set the target of becoming entirely dependent on the EV market by only allowing EV public transportation vehicles, and that's a target set for 2035. And similarly, provinces like Hainan in China have also set a target of becoming entirely EV only province and phase out the whole fleet or cars of gasoline supported cars, and that's the target that Hainan has set. And I'm pretty sure other provinces are likely to follow suit, because that's one of the key industries that China is targeting as the next game changer, which could become a global phenomenon that China can dominate, similar to mobile phones and other key products that China has dominated for a long time. But like everything else that China does nowadays, it creates controversy. The US is now concerned about its own edge in the EV industry, and Biden recently announced a fund for $7.5 billion, which will help US to set up charging spots around the country, which can allow the electronic vehicles to become more popular. And most recently, the US announced a tax credit to buy EV cars. And this competition between US and China over EV is likely to grow as China has tried to become a major economy that supplies EV cars. And we have seen that Tesla, which was for the longest time a primary company in the global economy for the EV supplies, is now being challenged by these small companies which are emerging and which are growing at a pace that they have a big potential of challenging Tesla. There are some quality issues when it comes to the Chinese cars, but these companies are quickly figuring out how to make their cars more efficient and address some of those challenges to make them appealing to a global market. And this could become a game changer for China, where they could have a tangible product just like a mobile phone which transform the Chinese economy, and it's something that could be sold to regions around the world, in South Asia, in Southeast Asia, Latin America, and elsewhere. But China's growing dominance in the EV market has also raised questions. Does China even innovate, and how did they manage to get to the spot where they are? China does innovate, but in a different way, which is more along the lines of incremental innovation. But they, of course, do steal technology from elsewhere, which has been a business practice in China that's heavily promoted. But if we look at some of the writings on how China innovates, we can understand how the Chinese companies incrementally add small innovations which can be quickly marketed to the broad Chinese market as well as around the world. And this kind of incremental innovation is something that China has mastered and has allowed them to dominate a large swath of markets around the world, which need a OEM model of manufacturing that puts together these pieces of supply chain. And that is how China has dominated a manufacturing as a manufacturing hub. But that does not mean that China is completely devoid of innovation. They do innovate in a different way by also, stealing at the same time. This whole incremental innovation model does not bode well for China, because now they are trying to become an innovation nation, similar to what Japan was in the 80s and 90s, and they want to replace and become a similar kind of innovation-driven economy. But that's the challenge that China faces, where they are entirely closed off and they are becoming more isolated. Innovation happens when you have interconnections with universities, with different academic and research institutions, and it has become very difficult for the Chinese companies to function in a certain way because of the geopolitics as well as what is happening domestically. And this creates a whole host of problems where China will find it difficult to rely entirely on the incremental model that they have followed so far.